time to reconnect with schools? Or do we make this ongoing for the whole school year of reconnecting with different school partners, sharing the KCPA plan with them, and how big of a priority does that need to be or want to be for our group? Or do we want to launch into tactics as a group supporting schools, since we haven't had a lot of school engagement?
Well, I can talk about what we did just in Johnson County. Because Michelle, we felt like the same way, that everything that we had sent to schools this year just became kind of a wash, just because they had obviously COVID and everything else on their mind and on their plate. So towards the almost went out like the last week of school, we just sent a survey to all Johnson County elementary schools, including the principal, PE teacher, and nurse, because we figured those are the ones that would be most involved in a safe routes to school program or any kind of healthy, physical activity. And we just kind of touched base with them. I mean, it's disappointing that I only got 18 responses out of like 480 that I sent out or whatever. So, but at least it gave me a little bit of kind of some levels of what participation took place. And basically what we wanted to do is say, what level of physical activity is your school currently partaking in? Are you doing safe routes to school? Are you doing walking, biking, that kind of thing? And then lastly, we put on there, would you like someone to reach out to you for further assistance in getting started in a physical activity program at your school? This is in addition to, of course, PE and that kind of thing. So I'm wondering if each of the counties or, would be interested, or as a KCPA plan, developing some type of, or they can even use a survey we use to send out to all the elementary schools just to kind of touch base. We did a Survey Monkey. It was like 8 questions. It was super quick. But it gave me 8 brand new schools who responded, who I've never worked with before, who said, yes, please help us. And so I was going to bring that to the group for some guidance, like what will that look like as far as what resources would I be able to share with them moving forward. And so I'd like to, of course, include something with the KCPA plan as well as all our, resources from the county. But I don't know, I'm just kind of throwing it out there. It would be something, if anyone's interested, I'm happy to share the survey as a way to get a hold of these teachers who are busy and don't have a lot of time. It was a really quick, brief survey.
Yeah, I think sharing the survey would be great. I think that's
okay.
Here at Jackson County too, we're kind of just same thing, just trying to kind of reestablish some conversations with a number of partners. So that would be a good way.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Perfect.
I think for the KCPA plan, if we could include just really high level, like what our 3 strategies are, and if they have any interest in learning more about those 3 strategies. In our conversation, what we kind of envisioned was almost taking our healthy schools meetings and having them, like, air quotes, hosted by different interested districts. So if we have some interested principals in Johnson County, let's say they're all from Olathe, like we have an Olathe meeting, whether it's hybrid or in person. Next month might be something like Eastern Jackson County, next month might be Casey Mo. And then we base the schedule possibly off of the school partners versus our standing time. I know that's a lot more complicated. And the reason why I was stretching it for a year is because we are losing Emily, who's really great at coordinating that kind of stuff. And Robin and I are definitely on to help and assist. But as you all know, the volunteer committees sometimes with great intention get pushed to the bottom of the to-do list. So I wanted to see your all's tolerance as people who've been in the process for like the whole pandemic with us making this plan, of still going really slow and kind of listening and meeting with folks for those individual opportunities to see where our plan aligns with the school's priorities. I love the survey idea of just like a baseline gauge interest, possibly in the quieter months here over the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's things, too bad Laura Steele's not on today, but like, for example, I know she's trying to push out that that walkability or the walk shop training, I think they're calling it, you know, and so that would be something I'd like to include on there because she wants to get schools involved, and we can kind of compile our resources and what we have to offer and somehow get that out to as a way of getting these schools involved to start with their walking and biking programs or continue them because they took off last year, you know. So we're struggling with trying to reach these teachers too. And you know, they just like, it's just a last priority to them, but hopefully next year that'll be better.
Well, and I think for me too, I've kind of been on the side of, but I haven't been too involved. So I think going slower and kind of familiarizing myself with it and Jackson County with it as we go, I think would be helpful too, just personally. So I'm all for taking it slow, but I haven't been putting in as much work. So my vote doesn't count if it doesn't need to.
I think that's good.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of other sectors that are kind of in a similar place as the healthy school sector. As you guys know, like the initial strategy prioritization was a long process, but that kind of continues as you get people within the community to start to understand those strategies and then identify their needs and see where they potentially fit into those strategies. And it's very difficult for you guys because there's people at schools that are focused on, you know, a whole plethora of other items. So I think a survey is worth it because even if it's not, you know, a high percent, you're going to identify some new schools and then some potential areas for needs. And then you can adjust the tactics along the way and take note of those and then hopefully develop some action items like you guys have done in the last few months or so. So I think that's a good plan. And we'd love to see that survey so we can you know, make some adjustments or just use it as is and send it out. So that's great.
What Robin and I were thinking was getting the group together sometime in July to really like identify either a survey we want to use collectively and then identify some targets. So like sitting down around Zoom and saying, who do we know as like a relationship, or can we send this out to our collective networks? Probably one survey of interest. I know the Healthy Schools group, Emily said the distribution list is about 90 people. She says not all 90 read the emails that she sends. I've got a pretty good list of principals, mostly elementary and middle, on our distribution list that we may get some new interest from. And so I think if we can come together, kind of develop one interest survey that we can all send out and then work with Shelley's going to kind of help lead us through the transition from the weighing in side. So she would be able to, I think, help manage like the results of the survey and what's going on and who's saying what, which will be, I think, really great. And she can also help manage just like communication from weighing in as well. I know we all have different relationships, and I think for me, the target group we're going to be looking for are administrators, not necessarily classroom teachers. Just for the plan itself, we're trying to get to that decision maker level of, can you implement any of these in your building? I wouldn't disregard teachers, but for me, I think a conversation around like who our targets should be as a group might be really helpful. The other thing, so I think that's a go. We're all kind of good for like a planning meeting later this summer and kind of taking our time and building those relationships back with districts and kind of aligning efforts. Also, I think just because we're all community-based organizations that want to work with schools, it's a good networking opportunity. I want to make sure it's still worth your volunteer time to come to the meetings and meet with these folks. So hopefully that'll make it worth it. The other thing we talked about, if it was a little bit based on today's presentation, our last strategy is around advocating for physical activity. And one of the first tactics is just stakeholder education. So I think the landscape's a little too uncertain to start advocating for like a prescribed number of minutes of PE or recess. Is just, it's a noble goal, but not a realistic one at this point. But I don't know if there'd be any interest in the group or what resources we think we might need to take some of the research from today on advocating for physical activity in response to like social, emotional, and mental health. I don't know if that's anywhere where your organizations were thinking. I know Casey Healthy Kids is thinking in that direction, just for the nature of, we just in the past year have started like a trauma-informed care and a whole mental health portion. So we've expanded our mission some. But I didn't know if that would be something of interest to the group as a KCPA collective. And then what we might need to do that.
I'll add, with Girls on the Run, that is a huge topic for us, the mental health benefits of our program and of activity and movement. So we would be very interested in that conversation. I would also throw out there, we will have, our program will start, our fall season will start mid-September. And in the month of August, we'll have our new coach training, which will be, we'll have an audience of about, I don't know, 200 coaches that will be teachers and will be, coaching hopefully at schools, not just at community sites. If we could find a way to integrate some of the information we're looking to get out to principals, they might be voices that would get the information to the principals. So that would be a reason to meet in July. Maybe we could put together I'd be happy to put that in our new coach training and, talk more about the collaborative work that is happening around activity and movement.
That'd be great. Thanks, Lee.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think there's also some room for some cross-sector development. I know Bill Brandmeier in the sports sector work group, he's been really big on searching for that research that's come out of the pandemic for kids that haven't been involved in active play outdoors or within their respective sports that they used to be involved in, and then potentially research on programs like Girls on the Run and such. So I might want to join you guys in that meeting in July and see if there might be any crossing ideas and figures that we can use. That's great.
Bryce, I'm making a note to myself to bring that up at I'm trying to think of when our next core work group is. I think is it next week?
It is, yep.
So that might be something we can float by the whole work group, because I think that would hit just about every sector if we had some high level, like packaged, easy to digest research around mental health and physical activity.
Yeah, I think it might make sense. With Matt's help, you guys did a great job on developing the resources and gathering those resources for Bike Month. That was probably like our most viewed page on our website because it was, so comprehensive and, pretty easy to navigate on. So I think if we had a similar page that was focused on this subject, we could also share that throughout all the sectors. So that's a good point. Let's definitely talk about that next week.
It's a great idea. Kudos to you, Jill, for that.
No.
Those are your resources.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Would it be helpful to, we work really closely with the Johnson County Mental Health. We work with them on a lot of different issues. If, I don't know, for the July meeting, if I could grab someone to sit in and share their knowledge about, the collaboration. I have a couple people in mind that I think might have more resources, and since they work in that day in and day out, if the group is interested, it might be kind of nice to have someone with a mental health background just for bounce ideas off of or whatever, but I could look into that if that's of interest to the group.
That would be great.
Okay. We don't have a date set for that July meeting, right?
We don't. So probably early next week, Rob and I will send out just like a doodle poll to not the whole large group, but like there's that smaller group that Emily, I think, emailed this past week talking about her transition. We'll probably just reply all to that group
Okay.
to try and get a date set sometime in July.
Okay, as soon as we get that, then I can reach out to a couple people and see who I could get. But also, I had a question for Lee. When you're talking about when you're getting your coaches gathered for next school year, when does the program start in the fall? I'm just wondering if, when I'm sending out information to all our schools, is it too late if I do at the very beginning of the school? Would those teams already be established, or when do those get set up?
That's a good question. Our season will start the week of September 13th, and we set that date so teachers have the opportunity when they get into the classrooms, they have some time to market the program, and we have time for registration. So yeah, we don't start until September 13th. So I'd say there's time.
Okay, because I would like to push that out, and we do have quite a bit of our different avenues for our social media, as far as our Live Well Johnson County, and then just our health department social media. But if you have anything that you send out that you want me to put out on ours, that'd be something I'd like to push to the schools. I don't want to overwhelm, I don't know how many you take new schools, or if that how you decide how many you take, or
We take everyone and anyone that is interested in having a team.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would be thrilled if you would share out the opportunity to have a team. Be great.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds great. And yeah, just maybe in the next, close, by beginning of August or something, if you have something that you could send me that I could put out, that would be great.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else on your all's mind, either from the presentation today or just our Healthy Schools group in general moving forward?
I know Michelle, you've been involved with our CHIP group and with the Healthy Eating Active Living group, and we also have a mental and behavioral health work group. And so I think CHIP technically ends at the end of December, so we're trying to kind of figure out next steps and moving forward with that. But I definitely want to take some of what from today we just talked about and kind of reach out to that group on how we can kind of combine that in. And we do also have a policy analyst here at the health department now. And so I'm wondering too, like if there's any with the research that we can find about physical activity and mental health, and kind of trying to combine that and looking for some policy priorities that we can be promoting too. And so I'll reach out to her and see if there's ways to bring that into the physical activity plan too, because I think there's a good mesh of everything that we can find. So yeah.
I think that's awesome. And I have numbers for you. So I know you reached out yesterday.
All right. Sorry. I'm like just a to-do list. I'm like, okay, gotta get this from this person, this from this person. It's fun.
Anything else? Are there any a technical question? Any like blackout dates in July that you can know are just awful for you or your team?
I'm kind of in and out throughout July, but I just, send that doodle and
Okay.
I'll make it work.
Sounds great. Well, thank you all. We're ending 3 whole minutes early. Enjoy.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great to
Bye,
see you.
everyone.
Thanks for joining.
Bye-bye.
Bye.